We are recording.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back to Riffs. And
Hi,
before we
Bruno.
hi, hi,
Hi.
hello.
Hi, John Boy.
Um, Before we get started, I believe Squee is showing some new fan art that we got.
Yeah.
Korea.
Yay.
This was posted on Koreana's Twitter. So why don't you give us some context? Because I can't remember the name. I don't have it in front of me of the person who drew this.
Oh, right. Well, I got a Twitter notification, and it is from someone by the name of Laura, I believe.
It's not Irony
That was
Lover?
that's maybe. It says Laura. I don't know how Twitter works, so I apologize. It's one of those two. Either way,
Wonderful.
she sent me this beautiful picture of Mila, and it's beautiful, and I love it, and I just want to hug it and cuddle with it and just embrace it.
It is
Yeah.
fantastic.
It's super good.
Yes.
I'm pretty sure Irony Lover is actually her real name.
Oh.
Oh, clearly,
Yes.
clearly.
All right, so
Anyway.
back to riffs. Yeah.
Back
I know
to
she
Riffs
loves
itself.
irony.
So last session was a little different. It was just a boys' club for the most part.
Sausage fest.
So,
Woohoo.
anyway, I am horrified, but I'll do some recap, and this will be very beneficial for both Kriana and Rachel for their characters, who, by the way, have been taken along, have just been silent partners to this, so you're not, 50 miles in the wrong direction, we'll just say. So now, correct me if I'm wrong if I'm missing anything, but pretty much Lee was cleaned up, and while he was showering and getting sober and getting a warm meal inside of his belly, the gents went to the New Laszlo scrapyard and found a few things. One of them, I won't go through all of them, just the kind of the ones of note. Of course, Byrne found a few items, but one of them was a really nice kind of a holographic music box, which he gave to Mila. Al found a few other things, but he also found pretty much it was an old toy lightsaber that he has hired a mechanic named Big Bruce to try to fix and to replicate. And Piv found a few things, including a spaceship, an old space shuttle, actually, that they are going to be moving out of the scrapyard. And he is in the middle of making modifications to the behemoth to bring it, inside the actual robot vehicle itself. Now, it's not like a huge spaceship. It's like a two-person shuttle pod, but it is definitely pre-riffs, and from the sounds of it, he's going to have fun tinkering with it. Now, after Lee was able to be sobered up, they were able to collect Morin again, as she was still up for helping assist the party in going back to where the fire elementals were and to help them go home. And they they spoke with Shauna after Shauna had them swear an oath that they would do their best to try to protect Morin, since she is a soldier of the New Laszlo military and a very important resource. After everyone took the oath, they headed out. They went to a ley line nexus point that was just to the west of New Laszlo, a relatively safe-ish one that other practitioners of magic use, and it's well traveled. Sure enough, Morin did open up a portal in which everyone was able to step through and instantly traverse a good 60 plus miles to the northwest, very nearby where they first met Ver, who was the fire warlock, who was kind of the de facto leader of this forest that just continually burned and would never be extinguished. It became a safe haven for elementals who were trapped on Rift's Earth, and in the previous encounters, the party was aware that Ver was doing his best to try to find a way for them to come home. Now that they have met Morin and they have re-arrived, the possibility of these fire elementals returning back to their home plane of existence is becoming a reality. We ended the session with Ver getting the elementals ready to make the small trek back to the nexus point through which the party arrived from, and get ready for the ritual to open it up. Did I miss anything?
No.
Did we I mean, I wasn't here for this part, but do we discuss like what kind of equipment we have on? Like,
no, we didn't. Well, we did discuss it, but since you are kind of retroactively joining us, right. I'll allow you to choose. Al asked Lee actually, like, what should we bring? What should we expect? Unfortunately, the behemoth is probably too big. It was determined that the behemoth is probably might be too big to enter through an actual rift itself. Although rifts do get to be very, very large, most of them aren't. And they were unsure of Morin's capabilities and how big of a gateway she'd make. However, Lee did mention quite matter-of-factly that since they don't know, since Morin is unpredictable, to plan for the worst and bring whatever you got. So in that regard, Al took a set of Samson power armor and is currently wearing it. The ATV is there as well as Tom didn't take his motorcycle.
Right.
Patrick, I believe, is wearing that magic armor, that magic scale armor that you got. Mm-hmm. Did you take the motorcycle, Tom?
Yeah, I do believe I did.
Okay, yeah. Great. So, Mila, of course, Pam, you're in your hover chair. Mm-hmm. Your equipment is, with you. It works as both means of conveyance and like a vehicle for you. But Mila, what would you have taken?
I think she probably just, unless someone like specifically told her get your Power Ranger armor, I think she just would have taken the regular. What is it? G begins with a G. Gladiator, is that it?
Oh yeah,
Gladiator
body armor. Okay.
Yeah, just her body armor, unless.
Well, okay. Well, I can leave it open for someone to suggest to her.
I would say that Al would not push it, but would suggest it. He would basically, or I can just say, like, Mila. Lee thinks it might get kind of crazy. You can bring whatever you want, but if you want to be safe, maybe bring the power armor.
Okay. I guess she'll bring her power armor then.
Okay, she'll wear it in her terrain hopper power armor, which is pretty cool. Okay. So now that we have all that set, let's continue on with the session itself. So, like I said, Ver takes some time. It actually takes quite a little while, actually, a good half an hour for him to enter the forest and to arrange things. Your party is probably camped or is just staying probably a good 100 or so feet away from the border of this ever-burning forest. But sure enough, about 30 minutes later, the image of Ver in his own body armor emerges from the actual fiery forest, and a plethora of fire elementals follow him. You don't take, unless you choose to take an exact head count, but it's probably numbering somewhere between 50 and 60 of these beings. All of them humanoid in shape, made of just complete and utter flame. They follow behind him in a very disorganized mess, so to speak. However, they're all just kind of really corralled, or they stay within one large amorphous group. Some of them look a little distressed in the sense that they fire flames up in the air and their bodies are clearly shaking. And it takes several times for Ver to turn back and to speak in an unknown infernal speech to them for them to actually calm down. By his body language and by the way this procession is going, you do get the feeling that the fire elementals themselves might not are seem unsure or erratic or unprepared for such a journey. But with Ver's constant reassurance, he's able to get them moving. Unless you guys want to do anything specific, we can simply role play and go over the travel to the Nexus point and have the next scene actually be at the Nexus if you're fine with that.
I'm down.
Sure.
Sure.
I'm down.
Okay, all right. I just wanted to say, if you feel, once again, just feel free to interject with anything, no matter how big or how small this is, okay? So feel free. Anyway, so you once again arrive at the ley line nexus point that you showed up at quite, unbelievably only a few hours ago. Rachel, since you've never been here before, I'll kind of paint the picture for you.
Okay.
The ley line nexus, ley lines themselves are typically, they range between being about 10 feet tall to like 30 and 40 feet tall. There are these lines, these kind of blue mystical walls of energy. Even in the bright daytime, you can see a blue shimmer of where they are. You can entirely pass through them. It doesn't affect you negatively. In fact, as a psionic, it actually can enhance some of your powers quite a bit using this mystical otherworldly energy.
Cool.
At night, however, the ley lines really show up. They transmit this beautiful deep blue that just lights everything up, very luminescent. Now, these ley lines, they course throughout the Earth at seemingly random points. Some of them are very short. Some of them stretch across a continent they can. And when two ley lines meet, they create a ley line nexus. And it's at these nexus points that rifts can be opened and closed. And these portals can transmit anywhere across the Earth or into other worlds beyond, other times and dimensions beyond. Anything is possible through these things. Of course, on Rift's Earth, a lot of these rifts open up and other beings come onto here, and that's how you probably would, actually, that is how you arrived onto Earth as well. Now, where this particular ley line nexus point is there is a large crest of, it's not really more of a hill, but more of a cliff face that is overlooking this valley. The valley itself is mostly grass, but a little bit further off in the distance, there are trees and a forest which you come from. Now, the ley line nexus point itself intersects almost right at the tip of the cliff face, in which the portal would open up and you would walk from the cliff edge into the rift itself. But the procession, led by you and by Ver, makes its way through the woods, up the cliff face, and assembling at the crest of this hill, of this cliff, Morin starts to move towards where the nexus intersects. The energy is continuing to shimmer and ripple, but a rift hasn't opened just yet. And she stands there for a little while, the girl being very still in her very fugue state, very, very dreamlike. And she stands there for a moment, and for a moment longer, and a moment longer, and it takes about 5 minutes or so. Ver kind of looks around a little nervously, his attention really brought towards him trying to control and to reassure his big brothers, as he calls it, the fire elementals. Until like Lee gives an impatient cough, and he asks Morin, she can go ahead and do her thing. With that, she turns around, gives a little nod, and her hands once again ascend up beyond her shoulders towards the sky. She doesn't say anything, but once again, light starts to fill her face, and light starts to shimmer off the palms of her body-armored hands. And that rippling along the ley line nexus itself starts to shimmer and quiver, much like ripples on a wave, and they start to undulate up and down and up and down until finally this little sliver of light starts to streak towards the top of the sky. And it's clear that the rift that she is about to open is going to be very, very, very large. It starts as a single beam of light, and she outstretches her hands towards herself, and almost like she's parting the curtains with her hands, she moves them away from her, and that sliver of light becomes bigger and bigger and bigger. And as it expands to its 50-foot by 50-foot diameter, you can see an orange glow start to shimmer through. And it's only a few more seconds. And even though you're all in your own body armor, you can see the steam and the heat start to pierce through our world, your world, and just steam right out into the atmosphere. And it opens more and more and more, and it is clear that you are looking into an entire place that is ablaze. You can barely look at it. It is so bright and hot and warm. And with that very sensation, the elementals themselves stand still. Even the most restless ones look upon it. And then you realize when the actual rift is at its fullness, what you're looking at isn't the plane of the actual plane itself. You're looking at the leg of a giant being, which is now crouching down, looking through the rift inquisitively. And much like the fire elementals itself, this thing is just magma and flame and cinder. It is no mortal being. And its deep yellow eyes ablaze look through the portal at your group. And for a moment, it doesn't do anything until its fiery orbs look upon the clustered group of elementals there. And at that, its hand starts to outstretch. And it starts to enter through the world. And at this, Ver yells for everyone to get back, clear the way. Move aside, don't get in its way.
All right.
Do you comply?
Absolutely.
Yeah, oh my god, yes.
Nice.
Oh,
I'm going to take pedal to the metal and get out.
I'm hopping.
Okay.
Nora's out of there.
All right. Hastily, you all move to the side, allowing this gigantic arm to rest itself upon the cliff where you once lay. And with that, a single low rumble. It's not really words that are coming out of its mouth. It's more the sound of a crackling campfire that's popping and sizzling comes out of its mouth. And in its outstretched arms, Vul simply says, "Go, my brothers, go home." And with that, one by one, each of the fire elementals step upon its open palm and travel up its arm back into their home plane. It takes about 3 minutes for this entire spectacle to end. And after that, the arm pulls back in, and the giant monstrous being gives a single look, a single sigh, and stands back up. And soon after that, Morin lowers her hands. The rift is closed. And when you look back towards Ver, even through his mask itself, you can see that he is crying. But he's smiling as well. And he says, through choked voice, he says, "I have spent so much time trying to get my brothers home. I almost can't believe this is real. I don't. Everything I have is yours if you want it. I have no idea how to thank you.
Uh, I personally only seek knowledge. If you have tomes or books um, that may have any sort of magical or even just general information about beings, I would love to take those.
He nods and he says, everything I have, and as far as the written word goes, you can have. It's fine. They are back at my home. I not too sure what I might do now. Perhaps I will keep traveling. Maybe try to find some other lost souls out there. But of course, I need to collect my things. Before you go, why don't you come back my place for one last time and I can give you everything you need?
Patrick is a little just kind of speechless and kind of will try to do a head nod, but it more of just looks like he's moving his head.
Gotcha.
That sounds good for.
Okay. First says, I will make my way there now. I hope I will see you soon. He says, and he's stunned, is what he is. This is a dream come true for him quite clearly, and it takes him a few minutes to actually compose himself before he, starts to head down towards the cliff itself. And Lee gives a little sigh. And, well, it's less of a sigh and more of a breath of relief. As he's waiting for the rest of you here. And you guys can go right away. Morin herself is still standing over the rift. Throughout this entire thing, she hasn't reacted to any of this. She's now just staring at the ley line nexus itself, just peering at the energy that is whistling across. Her mask is reflecting this blue glow, but she makes no move on her own.
I will then, since this is a pretty significant moment, Patrick will most likely get out of his vehicle, and move up next to, was it Morin?
Morin.
Yeah. And we'll kind of sit down next to her.
There's a marker with her name on the main page here too to give you a reference. All right, sorry. Anyway, so you're gonna stand next to her?
And sit. Yeah, I'm gonna go next to her and then sit.
Okay.
Just kind of look at it.
All right. You sit and she stands.
I think I'm just stunned. Like Nora's just like, I don't know what this is. Completely out of my field of expertise.
Same thing with Al. Al's just kind of sitting there, like still trying to grasp what just happened.
It's true, Al. The coalition would collectively shit themselves if they saw this, and in very fact, a display of this power. You can maybe understand why the government that you left is so against magic. It's a wonderful, but it can also be a terrible thing, of course, just like anything in life. But all right. Well, what we can do, quite simple, is that Vur is making his way back home. But you guys can definitely take a moment and leave when you want to. Just let me know how much time you have, or how much time you want to spend in reflection, we'll just say, or conversation. And then we can decide to head off.
I'm fine heading off.
I'm fine heading off as long as Morin and I can't remember his name. Lee. Also come along.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
Lee's fine coming along, but he pokes a thumb over to Morin and says, "You might have to herd her along yourself." And with that, he kind of takes off his helmet and he takes a swig of the flask that he was carrying before, just a couple shots before he puts his helmet back on and gets ready to go.
All right.
After good 5, maybe 8 minutes, Patrick will then take himself up and ask Morin to come along. Reach out a hand to see if she wants to hold on to it.
Your hand is outreached for more than a few seconds before her dark eyes move down to recognize it, and with that, her hand just flits gently and rests upon it. Her palm is also upwards as well, so the back of her hand is against your palm.
Mhm.
And yeah, she then eventually turns around, and with that, without her saying anything really, you can lead her to the ATV.
All right.
In
I
which
will do so.
she'll sit down, her hands folded upon her lap. And the look on her face is like, unlike I'm fair to assume even all of you, even Lee himself was pretty impressed and affected by what was just seen. Morin, on the other hand, she still has her same neutral, cloudy look. It doesn't look like it's affected her in the least. But I'm assuming it's fair to say that you travel back towards Ver's home, which is the forest filled with flame, in which she escorts you back to the brick home within the forest itself.
I was gonna say
Uh-huh.
kind of one thing though.
Oh, yeah?
Al would go over to Mila and whisper something to her power armor,
Okay.
and then go ahead.
She would go, "Ugh."
Okay. Lee looks around with a start, wondering what that was about.
Al shrugs his power armor shoulders and walks away.
Okay. Now I just realized something though. Pam,
Yeah.
you don't have body armor. You have your wheelchair, of course, right?
Yes.
Your hover chair, and it has an invisible field on it that can protect you against fire, laser and plasma and all that good stuff. But it doesn't really protect you against heat.
Heat. I was gonna ask.
So actually, we probably would get to the edge of the forest before perhaps you should bring it up.
Yeah. So she's gonna kind of flag her a little bit. Just be like, I'm gonna wait outside. I'm not going in there.
Why?
It's hot.
Oh, why? Mila clearly does not understand why this would be an issue.
Patrick's just like, it's because of the fire, and that's why it's hot.
Al would be like, that's fine. I can stay out here with her too.
I mean, you don't have
And
to.
then Al immediately starts getting out of his power armor.
Verse says there's no need for you to be discomforted. This entire place is beyond my control. I can go back home and return here with the things that you seek.
Thanks.
No problem.
Thank you.
And with that, he disappears into the smoke and haze and flame of the forest.